Welcome to TalentWise, a podcast dedicated to identifying and unpacking challenges and solutions related to the workforce. Each week, we will hear from experts in their fields or industries who are fighting to better understand shifting dynamics. What are those dynamics, you might ask? Put most simply, the workforce crisis we've seen coming for decades is upon us, and unfortunately, most of us are not as prepared as we should be. We've hosted expert demographers and researchers who have helped us understand the scale and scope of the workforce conundrum, and we've heard from industry leaders tasked with managing strategic efforts to address this problem proactively. We've also heard from human resources professionals who are responsible for talent attraction and retention for their employers. Everyone, every business, and every industry is affected by our shape-shifting workforce. This week, I am thrilled to welcome my friend Ryan Faught to TalentWise. Ryan, welcome. Thank you for joining us. How are you today?
Danny, I'm doing great, and thank you so much for having me today. I hope that I can share some nuggets of success that I've had, maybe even talk about some things in the Hall of Failures, and hope that others can learn a little bit from me. But I appreciate the time.
Well, thank you so much. For those listening, Ryan is Senior Vice President of People for Milo's Tea, though the opinions he expresses today and the knowledge that he shares with us are his own. After graduating from the University of Alabama with his bachelor's in human environmental sciences, Ryan participated in Harvard's Young American Leaders program. He also attended the Wharton School's executive education program in human resources management. Ryan, we're thrilled to have you. I'm excited for folks listening to learn from your experience, observations, and as you mentioned, challenges as we do this kind of work. So for those listening, you and I know this well, there are two kinds of people in the world, those who love Milo's tea and everybody else. So share a little bit of the juggernaut that is Milo's tea.
Well, no pun intended, Danny, but that was a great tee up to Milo's. So, I'll just give a brief overview of the things that I think are so important about the story that people may not know. So Milo's did start in 1946 as a hamburger restaurant in Birmingham, Alabama. And it is led by third-generation CEO Trisha Walbert today. But there's a part of the story that most people don't know that really is kind of goes to the purpose of who we are today as a company and how we act and behave. And that's in the 1960s, Birmingham, and so many others were on the wrong side of history. And Milo decided that if everyone was not able to come in and have a place to sit in the restaurants, then nobody would be. So it went from a sit-down restaurant to a walk-up hamburger stand. And so, he definitely chartered what Milo's looked like then, and still so much of the fabric of who we are today. And so we are proud to say that we are the number one refrigerated tea. We've been leader in that category for 4 years. We're in all 50 states, including Alaska and Hawaii. And most recently, we opened up our new manufacturing facility in Spartanburg, South Carolina. So we are proudly taking our imprint from where we started here and moving it into the Eastern Seaboard. So it's a really exciting time to be a part of Milo's.
Well, it is such an incredible story. So thank you for sharing some of that background. As an employer that is operating, as you mentioned, in so many different markets and with multiple production facilities, what are you seeing that you might describe as sort of the through line related to issues affecting the workforce?
I want to stay more on the prevention side of what you can do, because I've seen so many companies do this the wrong way, and it's having inconsistent cultures, these microcultures that are set up and not having any real identity as one. And so I often say at Milo's, we're one Milo's, we just have different addresses. And so when you have a strong DNA, purpose, understanding, and everyone every day adding value, at Milo's, we're fortunate enough to be grounded in our values. We use those values to bring people into the business, to grow people into into the business. All of our recognition programs are built around our values, and our performance reviews are the only categories are there that have to do with being values-driven organization. So I think my advice to companies is know who you are. Explain who you are. Be very intentional with the people that you're bringing in the organization. So many times it's what we need right now. And I've seen a lot of companies that will sacrifice skills and capabilities for a culture fit or vice versa. And so you really have to make sure that you are focusing on what the company needs for the next 3 to 5 years and not just trying to solve for the problem that's right in front of you right now. And most of the time when you do that, you're only doing the skills and capabilities and you're leaving the cultural part, which is critical to how people work every day. You're putting that to the back burner. And I would just challenge each company to remember what's your why for showing up every day as an organization, and how can you tie that into your team's, their personal why? I think when you do that, you kind of create that value mechanism that people are drawn to.
Well, there's no doubt that the cultural commitments at Milo's Tea are everywhere. How do you see that sort of manifesting differently in different markets, recognizing that everyone understands that they are a part of Milo's? And what are the things that those who may be in a less culturally consistent environment, what should they be thinking about as they consider how to deal with differences from a market to market perspective?
Yeah, I definitely think that you have to lean into the people that you're bringing into the business. I mean, that is key and critical. Having, again, those cultural norms, those ways of working that work for, the site that you might be leading, or even if it's away from your home corporate office. What are those things, though? Communication, those streamlines that are critical to helping companies stay aligned, even if they have multi-sites. One thing that we do here at Milo's that I think has been transformative to us being able to be successful opening up these different locations, and we have 4, and our corporate spaces, we're very much hybrid remote, has been consistent communication. So like every day, the executive team starts with a huddle at 8:30. What are we working on? What are we stuck on? And what's something we're proud of, or we're giving, a hats off is what we call it at Milo's to someone on the team. That same consistency happens with our direct reports. Then they have it with their direct reports, so that by 10 o'clock, everyone in the organization, no matter where you're working, have had that touch point. And I think those are meaningful connections that can help build culture, even if you're not together. Proximity bias is such a thing that you see a lot of companies struggling with, but it really is just turning up the dial on communication, looking for real moments where you can be your true authentic self, and owning who you are and celebrating who you are.
Yeah, that's really wonderful advice. And as I think about those entities that may be less evolved in those regards than Milo's, what do you see as the biggest obstacles to talent attraction and retention today? Recognizing, again, Milo's does a lot of this really, really well relative to most others.
Yeah, you hit it earlier when you said that there was something coming many years ago that we could see. And we had heard the term skills gap and capability mapping, and it was like, oh, okay, they were buzzwords for a while, but they really are here. And you have to look at the advancement of technology, tools, capabilities, AI. If you're not using it in your workplace, someone is, and you just don't know about it. But it really is thinking at the talent and the type of roles that you're bringing into the organization, and having a critical eye on what those are. I think a lot of companies are just what I consider stacking. So it's layers upon layers, and we think we need this, and so we'll just go get it. And it's really just to solve this one business problem. So is it a consultant that you're looking for, or is it a long-term solution? And a lot of people will go, I've seen a lot of companies that go people first, like, well, we need someone for the job. I would challenge everyone to think about the role. that you have in front of you, because 2 years from now, it's already changed. So really take time to map out those skills of today, the skills of tomorrow, the capability assessment that you'll need to complete and you'll need that person to go through. And then lean into tools and technology. Not that we're wanting to take jobs away from people, but people are going to be using these tools and technologies to do their job. So it's empowering that knowledge transfer that I think are critical and important. And it's going to be the only way that companies win, right? And then another part of what you asked was retention. You know, I think that every company struggles with, you do so much to grow your people. You know, at Milo, as we say, people come here to grow. Well, then what does that growth mechanism look like? And for some people, Danny, it's upward mobility. They want to lead people, they want to lead projects. But what we've noticed too is there's a middle component here of people that just want to grow in place. And I feel like those people have been neglected. And those are the ones sometimes that will go and seek other opportunities because they just want someone to recognize the job that they're doing and help them continue to do what they love to do even better. So I think finding that balance and that flexibility and showing people what growth means, what and being very honest. I think that's another thing is, companies will promise, hey, well, you're up for the next promotion. Well, we don't know that. What we need to do is just help people in their growth journey. Be open and transparent. And I think that is the key to retaining people. They want honesty. They want you to be humble. They want you to help them identify opportunities that they can be better or sometimes do career exploration. We're starting to do this at Milo's. And it is generating so much excitement. It's that gig work, right? Like, how can you try something different? Or maybe I don't want to do that full time, but I just want to work on a different project. So we're just kind of in that exploration phase. But I really think this is how companies are going to be able to attract good talent and then how they're going to retain them. We say it's from attraction to retention. And so what does that look like? Thinking about the full life cycle of the associate. And pay and benefits do play a role in that. But I think so many people have focused on that now they're like stuck. Well, what more does the associate want? Well, they're wanting growth. They're wanting opportunities to explore other things. So if you don't offer them, someone else is going to. So really, it's up to the company to make that choice where they want to make the investment.
The competition for great talent is getting increasingly fierce as just the scarcity of the human resource becomes more prevalent. We got 90% of baby boomers who will leave the workforce permanently in the next 5 years. In states like Alabama, we have a small and fairly stagnantly growing population. Do you think that those types of factors are going to make challenges associated with attraction and retention worse going forward?
I think it very well could locally if we don't see a larger investment with companies, with even when you think about a lot of people jump to higher educational institutions, we need to realize that there are students coming out of high school that just want a career. They want to get started in their professional growth and development. So finding where talent lies, I think, will be critical as companies look at some of the challenges that you just mentioned there that within our own state. But we are in other states that have similar challenges. I think that you have to be a part of the solution instead of standing back and saying what the problems are. I will say that we've taken that on with a local organization called Ready to Work. And it's for high school students. They come in, it's part of their core curriculum, and they spend time within your business learning a trade. And then you get the choice at the end. It's like signing day. Do you want to bring them on or not? And so I think that there's a huge opportunity that other companies should look at that. Again, where's your talent pipeline coming from? Are you doing things to grow your talent show up at different places. You can't go to job fairs anymore. Everybody's doing that. So you got to find niches where you can kind of embed yourself so that people see you. I did not come from a manufacturing background. And when I was approached with this opportunity, I probably had the thought, I know I had the thought that so many others have. No way. You could just imagine what the challenges might be, and every industry has their challenges. But it's so rewarding, and I think that's what we're trying to do at Milo's, is to be a difference maker. It is everything that you could possibly think. Come for a tour, ask me some questions. You really can make it something that is so much more different. And there's something about creating a product that you get to see on shelf.
Yeah.
And the excitement that comes from people that are producing that, but also that are supporting the efforts to get that on shelf. And then you get to see consumers and customers that they're like Milo's fans. They love it and they crave it. And so I think as companies, you've got to find that intangible resource that you have too. That what is that key differentiator that you can say, hey, come work here. And then I think companies have to look, are you posting jobs, or are you posting opportunities for people to have a career? Because those are two different things. Yeah. And I think for companies that have struggles with, in certain areas that you mentioned earlier, you've got to look at opportunities you can make it a career. People want comfort. They want security. They want growth. They want development. And you have to create the pathways for them to happen. Now, we believe at Milo's, you have to chart your own path. Like, we'll help you, but we're not going to lead you and direct you. You have to think like an owner, right? You have to think entrepreneurial. I'm in control of my career and where I can go with a company. And so I want to challenge each company or any HR professional that listens to that to say, what is special? What is unique? How can we show up? How can we make a difference? And do our people know what those pillars of success look like?
Well, you guys have done such a great job in these areas, and it spills over not just to your employees and the people who work across your footprint, but for the people who love your product. I heard a guy speak, I think it was last week or the week before. He was in Moab, and he was, enjoying Arches National Park, and walked into a store and saw a bottle of Milo's tea. That spirit that you all have cultivated so successfully and that culture that you all have built really does spill over. You mentioned AI. What are some other tools that you guys use or you see used by others? Because not every tool is perfect for every employer. What are some tools that you're leveraging or that you've seen leveraged to sort of address this challenge?
Yeah, I would say critically looking at your organizational design and function and finding out, again, what resource allocation you need, looking at your function teams. How are they functioning in silos? Are they functioning as a cohesive unit? Is there cross-departmental collaboration? Where is that syncing up? You've got to think, if you've got generational differences in the workplace, how can you create good points of transfer knowledge? Those, again, are going to get people excited about what they're doing, how they're helping others grow in the organization. I think that good, strong skills assessment, then there are tools out there, there are free tools out there that I would encourage people to use that can help identify, again, what is the job of today and what does the job of tomorrow look like. We're actually in the process of implementing a new product called OrgView, which will take and help build upon the skills that we initially set in, but it will also use AI to help generate skills and capabilities that you will need for the future. So using that along with strong succession planning and org design, and really, I would say to each executive leader, you have to own org design. That cannot be held as something that HR just does and sends around some org charts, and it's like going to the grocery store. Well, what departments? What do you think you need? There has to be good thought and good debate on where people are going, how are we leading, what are the change enablements that we might see different roles having, and even different departments that might grow out of what our current landscape might look like. So org design, tools, technologies, leveraging AI. Again, you've got to have some of your cultural norms. I cannot stress that enough. You can do all of the change enablement, you can have all the skills and the capabilities, but if you do not have cultural identity, none of it's going to work.
Yeah, that cultural piece is such an important part of the Milo story. Would you describe that as Milo's secret sauce? If not culture, what is it? And how does Milo's continue to evolve to be the employer of choice tomorrow, just as it is today?
Danny, so we have a flywheel, and anyone that listens to this, I would ask yourself, do you have a company flywheel? Like, what makes it churn? And what are those outputs, throughputs? And at the top of our flywheel is people. We're in a revenue generating business, but if you don't have the right focus on the talent that you have within your organization, or that you're bringing into the organization or growing, then the flywheel won't turn, right? And so I think that you have to win with people every day. And you have to show them that you truly care about their success, about where they're going in their professional journey. You have to show them that you care about the people that they care about, walking into total rewards and things like that are so important to everyone. But I think if we want to hire the best and the brightest, then you have to know what your levers are. From a cultural standpoint, I know this will shock people, but we do a cultural survey every quarter. And it's asking, would you recommend Milo's as a place to work to friends or family? That's a powerful question. And it is a practice called the ENPS, the Employee Net Promoter Score. I encourage people to go out there and look at that and see if it's a tool that your company might utilize. We are very passionate about the information that we get back. We're Extended Trust, and it's anonymous, but the fact that our people will give us the feedback, our response rate is very, very high. It's over 70%, which is wonderful. Yeah. But there are things that we do well, and our associates tell us that, and they tell us about things that we need to improve on. And so I think by giving your associates and team members a voice where they feel like they're heard, and not just putting that in the hands of a manager, but really saying, as a company, we're looking at this and what changes can we bring. It's kind of like that start, stop, continue. What do I need to start doing that I'm not doing? What do I need to continue doing that we know we do well? And what do I need to stop doing that's maybe antithetical to what our culture is, or to people's ways of working, where they can show up and be their best?
When you think about those commitments and how careful Milo's is to cultivate this culture, and now we're entering an environment where increasingly the human asset is going to become increasingly in demand and therefore increasingly scarce. When you put on your HR hat and you're sitting in front of a candidate for employment, how important is it to you that candidate for a job, or to your point, a career at Milo's, fit a particular skill set versus the cultural fit and values that Milo subscribes to?
Culture wins the day. No one wants to work with a brilliant jerk, right? So I think that if people are your greatest asset, then you take care of them. And so we consider that when we're bringing people into the business, we're either bringing in an asset or a liability. And it can a wrong cultural fit can change the trajectory of the company's success. Yep. I have seen it. And it takes a long time to get that trust and credibility back. And so I would, challenge everyone to really take more time on the pre-screening interviewing process. You cannot take enough time with it. A lot of times you'll see talent management teams that are really focused on time to fill. And it's an important metric, but you absolutely cannot sacrifice those moments to find out culturally, is this person going to come in and help us win, right? And to do it every day. Getting it wrong can be very, very costly. I will say that for us, it is the top. You can have a remarkable resume. I mean, you can have, scaled and produced and led and do all those action words that you look for. But if it's not going to be adaptable to our ways of working. And Danny, I'm very honest. I did an interview earlier today, and I do this with people because I feel like I want people to know what they're getting themselves into.
Yep.
And there are three things about Milo's culture that are just unique. They're unique to us, and everybody operates differently. We know what environments we thrive in, and we know what environments take away from our passion or take away the energy that we need to do our best. And so I tell people there are three things. We are a high culture of feedback. No one wants to walk around with lettuce in their teeth. So you're going to get that feedback, and it's not going to happen once a year. Like, we're going to have bi-weekly one-on-ones where we're talking about not only the tactical things about your role, but we're going to talk about your talent scorecard and how are you doing with that and where do you want to be. We're having those discussions. We are very, very fast-paced. Our CEO has built a company, third generation, that has continued to grow and scale. You've got to be able to continue to run with purpose, run with agility, being able to pivot and change with ease. And for some people, that's not how they produce their best work. And another thing about Milo's that's very unique is we work very much in a constant spirit of cross-departmental collaboration. I have people from our finance and accounting team that sit on my team. I have people from analytics, and then my team, they will work on cross-departmental projects. And I love that at Milo's, that you don't feel like you have the burden of, this huge initiative on your own shoulders, that, you do have diversity of thought and experience that people are bringing to your everyday. So for people that, like to work within their own confines of what their department does, I tell people Milo's is just not for everyone. It's great, it's challenging, it's rewarding. There's high growth, there's high potential, but it is unique. And so I think if companies also would take the time in the interview process to say, hey, we do these things well, and these are things that you might not, find work well with your ways of working, they might not find themselves backfilling the same roles as often.
Yeah. Well, recognizing that Milo's is pretty unique and operates with these commitments to cultural values that it has really put in place and has fueled a lot of its growth. What advice do you have for those operating in the HR, talent acquisition, talent retention space, maybe outside of your industry, who don't necessarily have a company with the type of growth trajectory behind it that Milo's has?
I would say the company's growth is not an indicator of the company's success, because everyday success is built on having remarkable people that are aligned with their vision, that share the same values, and that are working together to produce, whether it's a good, a service, to someone that is going to make a difference in the lives of someone else. That's what we say at Milo's. It's taste the difference and make a difference in someone else's life. And everybody wants to be a part of something that has purpose, right? And so whether a company is double-digit growth or even growing by 3 to 5% year over year, the company will continue to sustain itself if it has the right guardrails, if it has the strong foundation, which I would tell each company that might be listening to this. It might sound corny, but I'm telling you, I've seen it transform a business. If you know your values, maybe you need to look at them and reset them. Define them. Don't just say quality, responsibility, integrity. Define them so that people can understand and harness what those terms mean. What do they mean for how they perform, how they show up every day? It's almost like a family crest or an identity. This is who we are. When you know who you are and you show people who you are, they believe you and they will follow and they will do their best work, whether the company is again growing, whether it's steady. Or Danny, sometimes companies are going through those tough moments where growth isn't happening. Maybe it's stagnant. Maybe there's questions going on of what does the company's trajectory look like? Do we see long-term success here? Right people, right moments, right vision, and the right cultural norms embedded under great values, I think a company is going to be successful, no matter who is working for them or what they're in business to do.
Ryan, you are a wealth of information, and Milo's is such an amazing example of what's possible from an HR talent acquisition and retention perspective. How can those listening learn more, both about you and the work that you've done in your career and about Milo's?
Yeah, personally, you can find me on LinkedIn. That would probably be the best spot. I send me a message. I'm very active on there. Love to respond. Love to connect with people. Always looking to grow my professional network. And for Milo's, maybe this sounds like you're listening to this and you're saying, "Hey, this could be a place I would be interested in." Check us out on drakemilos.com. There's link to our careers page where you'll see not only the careers that we have, but more importantly, you'll see our culture, I think. And we spend a lot of time talking about who we are so that people can show up and know a little bit about us other than what they've heard. And then we're on all social channels right now. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, YouTube. You can find us anywhere. And thank you to everyone for listening and for Danny for having me on the call. And just appreciate the time.
Well, you are wonderful, Ryan. Thank you so much for joining us today. It is really great to see you. I'm fortunate to call you a friend. I look forward to calling you my neighbor, and I hope you'll join us again on TalentWise. And for those listening, I hope you'll tune in a couple of weeks on your commute or at home or at your office. Thanks so much for listening today. And Ryan, thank you again for joining us, man.